Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL, and we're back with the last of these putting two patterns side by side. This time it's pattern 2135 and pattern 3187, both on friendshipbracelets.net. Getting this thing started was a little bit tricky. There was an exchange of strings, a purple that went to one side and a black that went to the other side to kind of balance out the numbers. Which we've done this before, but this time it was just a single strand, which felt a little bit like, really? Like we couldn't sort it out, but it is what it is. It's fun. What makes this one a little bit different than the ones that we did prior is the color choice. So in this one, it's black, white, and purple. So with just these three colors, we put two different designs together, and what sort of makes that kind of interesting is how at first glance you don't see it as strictly two different patterns sitting side by side to each other. It looks like some kind of very complicated pattern altogether, but if you kind of look at it a little bit longer, you start to that line between one pattern that's really complex and two patterns side by side becomes a little bit clearer. So it's a real fascinating kind of thing that's going on. And what kind of adds a bit to this is there are moments where some of the colors, namely the purple, kind of goes from one side all the way into the other side, and kind of blurs the line between the two separate patterns and just being one. Also, the big zigzag from the pattern that's on the left does kind of dip a little bit into the pattern on the right, which again blurs that line between it being a two pattern design and helps to kind of give it that almost an illusion of just being one pattern. I was kind of interested in seeing what would happen with reducing the colors down and turning it into something like this. And overall, I think it's a really interesting look, and it would be a lot of fun to try this out with some other patterns just to kind of see how it went. Now, as far as difficulty level, I'm going to say this is kind of difficult, but I never had to. It wasn't like some of those other ones that we did earlier where I had to like have a pattern up where I could cross off areas as I did it. There's enough points to kind of look at to be able to count, to see where you are, to see what's going on, to make it work out with just having the pattern up on the screen. Because the two different patterns have different amounts, different numbers of rows as far as like how much it takes for like the pattern to come back to its original state. Because of that, it's impossible, I think, to just do this without actually looking at the pattern. You have it, there was no point at which I was just like, oh, I can just work ahead and I don't have to look to see what I'm doing, if that makes sense. Because it's like sometimes they just become, like if I'm doing an arrowhead, I just know which way it's going to go. I know what's happening. There's enough going on that I don't have to look at the pattern, or if it was just chevrons or something. But this one, it just keeps changing. Like each area is somehow distinctly different from the previous one. And so there's no repetitiveness that just makes this inherently easy. And as such, it kind of keeps you on your toes. There are some areas where segment knotting happens, like this right here, which is going on the left-hand side. That kind of helped to make things feel like it was going a little bit faster. Still, though, all in, this took a little bit more than 90 minutes to make. So I attribute a lot of that to how complicated the pattern is on the right-hand side. The left-hand side, like I said, had moments where it just felt nice and easy. But the right hand side has a lot of zigzags going on, and the pattern itself, it takes a little bit to kind of, okay, are we in the first, the second, or the third of this little repetitive thing that it does, and recounting and making sure where we are, making sure that things aren't getting done wrong, definitely adds to the amount of time that it takes to actually produce this thing. I have to say though, I did the whole bracelet in, like I said, it was 90 minutes, but it didn't, like the actually sitting down to getting it done, it didn't feel like it was that terribly long. It didn't feel like it was much, possibly because the patterns aren't like the last one. Okay, so the last one had little boxes that just kept repeating. These have much bigger patterns that take so much longer before it repeats, and that moment of feeling, oh, okay, I got through the whatever that purple thing is, like then going on to the white one that follows it, there was this element of, you know, the number of times that you actually feel like you accomplished something are fewer in between. And so it kind of gives this illusion, like every time that happens, it's like, oh yeah, I did it. I got through it. Look at this. And yeah, so it feels quick, but it wasn't. And there's some moments in there where like the pattern just does like some crazy thing where there's a spot where like a white row comes and just goes almost all the way across the whole thing. And so I instead of like trying to keep the strings that were on the left hand side, keeping them to the left, I let it carry over. Like, here it is, here's that row. I let it carry on over and swap with the other strings, and that was fine. It didn't hurt anything, although I have to say the strings on the left hand side, because of the nature of that whole zigzag thing, they really got used up. I still had enough for the tassel, but as I was getting towards the end, it was really obvious that like I was thankful that I used my template and that I know that my strings will work within that template, because if we were to try to make it stretch it out any further, we would have really run into some trouble there. So that's kind of a thing. Let's see what else. Oh, again, because the two different patterns working two different kind of ways, it did seem like it wanted to kind of get bent out of shape. And so you'll notice, many times throughout the whole thing, I try to get it to straighten up and get it to go the way it's supposed to. And that turns out to make it turn out pretty good, I guess. Yeah, from what I'm doing, like, I really think I tried to segment it out the best I could. But at the same time, there was the keeping track of where I was in the pattern. So there's a lot of instances where I might not have segmented it to the best of my ability, but I was definitely doing it in a way that made it so that way I could see where I was on the pattern, like to know, like, okay, this area is done, and give myself visual clues as to where the next parts were. That's a lot of what's kind of going on even right now. Like, I finished out the whole right hand side because I had this sweeping big purple coming across there, and that kind of leads into the whole center area thing. So yeah, there are times where I try to save time, and there are times where I save time by making it easier to see where I was in the pattern itself, if that makes any sense. Because this thing is complicated. This thing is really, really complicated. I would say the pattern on the left is an easy pattern, and on its own is probably pretty beginner friendly. The pattern on the right, though, is a little bit more intermediate, and then putting them together becomes way more advanced. So, yeah, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I honestly believe that. Like, there's going to be a lot of people who probably would not enjoy putting this thing together. But if you do, I'd be curious to see how it turns out, what you do differently. Perhaps you make the two things of completely different colors, because that would definitely emphasize more of the two patterns side by side than to just do it in the three colors like I did. I've done that obviously earlier this month with a lot of my other patterns. I kept the colors completely different, with the whole purpose of showing you like how it can look like two bracelets that just happen to be really close to each other. But this time I wanted to try something a little bit different. I wanted to show what happens if we reduce those colors down, and how it kind of blurs that line between two bracelets or one bracelet with just a complex pattern. So, oh, speaking of, that is the halfway point. I am going to forget. These videos end really abruptly, so I tend to forget. I need to thank my YouTube members for making this possible. They really give me a lot of encouragement about, you know, keeping the course and keep making these videos like I have been. We're coming up to almost 2 years of the daily videos, so yeah, it's one of those things where it's been a lot of work to put these together, you know, to have every single day, especially when it can take a better part of the day just to do one of these videos where I'm actually making something, because there's the, you know, couple hours of making the bracelet itself, and then I have to create a video for me to watch to talk about what I'm doing, and then I have to put that together with the video like I'm recording right now and put it all together into one thing. A project like this can easily take a whole day, if not more. So, you know, to do it, there are times where it's like, do I really want to keep doing this? And my members kind of keep reminding me that there are people out there who really do like the work and want to see more of it and want to see bigger challenges and different things happen. So, yeah, it does my heart some good and makes me want to try making even more things for you guys. So, yeah. And I don't even know like what I'm going to do next month. I honestly, I haven't come up with a plan for that yet. I still have to do a review of all of the bracelets that we've done, and then we can figure that out, and it'll be fun. It'll be different. Yeah. So yeah, another spot here where I can do the segmenting. It just, like I said, it really only seemed to work out really well to do the segment knotting over on the left-hand side because of the way that pattern has these big diamond things. When it's on the outside part, really super easy and can blast through a whole area really quick. On the other part though, I'm having to join the left side with the right side, and so you don't get that same element of making it go quickly and making it, you know, that ease that you get with the other side. But then again, there's like only like 2 of those bits on the outside past the middle, so it just kind of goes kind of quick anyways, or at least it feels like it. Yeah, if you guys have pattern ideas, or, you know, maybe you have a picture of a bracelet that you want me to try to recreate, yeah, go ahead and get a hold of me. I think probably the best ways are either Discord or Instagram. Facebook, I really don't look at that too much anymore. It's some things automatically post to it or whatever, but like, yeah, it's just kind of more difficult to see whatever's going on over there. So yeah, Instagram and especially Discord. Discord gives me notifications and lets me know if people have, even if you just posted something like the project that you're working on. I get a little notification, so that kind of works out pretty cool. What else can I? Oh, I would like to do more blindside creations. I keep asking, and nobody's really responded to it yet. But I would like the idea of, where you send me a pattern number, tell me which website it's from and how many strings, and then I go into it without having seen the pattern before. And then I try to sort out either making the pattern a little different or better or centered or whatever it is, working on that pattern. And yeah, I kind of want to go back into doing those again. Those were fun. And some of those led to series, like there was a bunch where it was like a rainbow going across with various side like things with black or white. That one turned out really cool. I really liked that. That was a lot of fun. Or like the granny squares. I'm pretty sure the granny square one that became a bag, I'm pretty sure that started out as a blindside creation to try out a pattern that wasn't like anything I would normally do. And then it turned into, yeah, you know what, that looks like a granny square. And then, seeing on Instagram other people actually crocheting granny squares into stuff, it was like, I could do that. I could. Turned out to be one of the most nightmarish projects I've ever endeavored in. And I've done a pattern that's 1.6 meters wide, like 5 foot wide. So, the granny square thing was definitely more intense, honestly. Like, that was just crazy. It just kept changing out the colors so that way each square could be a different set of colors. That proved to be really super difficult. So yeah, crazy stuff. Oh yeah, this is kind of approaching the end of it, and I had to remind myself as I was getting towards the end of this to not get too excited and inadvertently make mistakes. Like I honestly kind of felt like that little, ooh, the push is on, we're almost there. But yeah, I kind of had to remind myself that in haste, doing little oopsies could definitely set me back a little bit. So yeah, and it really, again, nothing about this pattern was intuitive. Like 100% had to keep watching the pattern to make sure that, things are going the way they're supposed to. And yeah, it was definitely a challenge. And you can keep seeing the tail as I'm flipping through here. That's because that string is really, really short. But yeah, that was it. So hey, thanks for hanging out with me. And as always, don't get your strings in a bunch.